Welcome back to, well, pick up left off last video because I had to stop to get dinner. Yeah, I mentioned my last video for this is the comic course, this is part 2 of it. We're here discussing Blade, the Vampire Slayer, Black and White. This collects a lot of the black and white stories, pretty much all the ones released in the 70s, and the 2 released in the 1990s. Now, excuse me, the best way to describe why these things happened. Well, Marvel was trying to experiment, basically because the character, I guess this could be Marv Wolfman's idea, to expand the character Blade, because he initially wanted to be like his own spotlight character. I guess some readers found him interesting, so he decided to spin him off. Not like an ongoing series per se. I'm sure he wanted to do that, but my guess is Blade was probably not a viable property just yet. So, hey, we have these other books we can put them in. They're anthology books. Why not? And Marvel himself would write pretty much 3 of these stories. Yeah, he basically moved to the Vampire Tales. Vampire Tales was the main series also for another popular character, a guy by the name of Michael Morbius. Also, Lilith, Dracula's daughter, she also appeared in these issues as well. I think also Santana, Damien Hillstrom's half-sister. Yes, Marvel himself will write the two Vampire Tales issues, and you come back for our premiere number 8, and that's it for him. Chris Claremont will come in for Vampire Tales number 9, and of course he would do the more premiere preview issue number 3. We have the Shadows and Light issue, released back in the 1990s. Yeah, Shadows and Light, this was an anthology book that had a series of stories. I believe also Doctor Strange had a story in this one too. Yeah, this was done by James Folder, art by Ledron. Now, who does the artwork for these Vampire Tale issues? These old ones? The 2 Vampire Tale issues are by Tony DeZiga, who also does the very first of the 2 Marvel preview stories. He co-does it with Rob Richo, the late Gene Colan, the Blade's co-creator, along with Mark Wolfman, would basically do that one. And that was the only Blade, I think that would be the only Blade story, one of like 2 I could think of, where basically Gene Colan works on a Blade book, a story featuring Blade outside of Tomb of Dracula. The other, I think, was a Blade miniseries, which Marvel worked on that one too. The Blade one-shot here is known as Crescent Blues. This was a one-shot released in 1990 something. Yeah, it's Crescent City Blues. Came out in 1998, and this is done by of course, Gene Colan does this is actually another one he does the interior artwork for. He does the cover for. This is done by Christopher Golden. Those of you like, wait, Christopher Golden, isn't that the guy usually who's been working with Mike Mignola on Hellboy? Yep, same guy. This is one of a handful of comics he actually worked on at Marvel. He also did a very controversial Punisher run, which made Punisher basically a guy who hunts supernatural threats, and that's not the Punisher. It's almost as bad as it's not as bad as what James Gunn did with the book, with the character. Now, this Blade one-shot was his very first one-shot. Was this the first Blade comic book ever released with a Blade name on it? No. As a matter of fact, this would not be the case. Yes, this is technically the very first Blade comic book. It was just a one-shot. Now, Blade comic books, there was a certain number of them. Now, the very first Blade comic book ever released was not this one per se. Oh, no. This was Blade the Vampire Hunter. This was released in 1994, and I'll be discussing this basically next. Well, actually, no, I'm discussing it soon, but yeah, this is one of the things I will be discussing. This is one of the, there are several volumes for Blade that come out over the years, but I do plan to review, a lot of them per se. Yes, there's our Blade comics. Now, basically, this book is actually pretty good. I'm going to give the book a 9 out of 10. Yes, now, I have discussed already the Doctor Strange Blade one-shot. Let's see. Oh yeah, I've also discussed Darkhold Blade, so I've discussed like a couple one-shots of Blade. But you're thinking, okay, is there like, okay, what actually is their series of the go? Well, there's the, well, then there is the second Vampire Hunter book, which would lasted for about 6 issues. So something interesting to discuss this one. There is also a few one-shots. There is the Final Glory of Deacon Frost. There's a good number of these one-shots. Now, this one in particular, it just releases Blade Volume 1. Now, if you're really curious, what is the Blade Volume publishing right now? That is volume number 7? No, it's volume 5. But I kind of count it as volume 7. Yeah, it's one done by Brian Hill. Mm-hmm. And yes, that will be something I will be discussing in the future. Don't worry about that. Mm-hmm. Yes, so there's going to be a good number of Blade books to discuss. Here's something strange about Blade. Blade does not have many trade paperbacks. You're thinking, really? Yeah, ones you can say are definitely his. There's not really that many. One I was thinking of covering was Blade Undead by Daylight. This is one I'm considering covering, but mostly it contains mostly like three issues to Dracula and the Blade one-shots in this book here. I was going to say this one, but because I discussed most of this tree already, why would I discuss basically something we discussed before? Which, obviously, that's a really smart idea. There is also the Blood and Chaos trade, which this one should be quite interesting to discuss. That one, I'm definitely looking forward to discussing this one in the future. Definitely. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I'm running on the trades because there's not really a lot for Blade per se, but definitely stuff basically discussing. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's been pretty much it, particularly now. Apparently, Epic Collection Volume 2, which is one I'll be discussing soon per se. I thought it was listed as Volume 3, but I think it changed and I made it Volume 2. Yeah, and what would be in Volume 1? Probably all his appearances from Tomb of Dracula, and probably what's published in this book here, and the Doctor Strange issues. That's presumably, though they kind of in a way already collect these issues already, called Blade the Early Years Omnibus. Yes, there's an omnibus that came out just this past week, which contains all the appearances he made throughout the first volume, of Tomb of Dracula, an issue of Fear. There are 3 Doctor Strange issues, but there is also one Mark Presents issue. I'll probably discuss that one later. At some point, yes. But not really much else to say about this book. It just basically, like I mentioned, just a series of stories for Blade. Is it bad? No, not really. It is quite interesting. I enjoyed it. Yep. But yeah, that's particularly it, particular view. Stay tuned for next, which is going to be Goblin Slayer. Okay, next view. Bye.